What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and you're watching the B1KER Bar Podcast.
We've all had helmets when we were kids that the foam got loose, right?
Right.
So what happens is you make the shell, and then you make the foam, and you shove them together. You glue them, tape them, any way to get them together. But it's an imperfect match.
Mm-hmm.
And so you make the shell super thick and hard to spread the load, and then you make the foam theoretically softer so that it dissipates the energy. But it's an inefficient structure. So me coming from R&D in aerospace, I said, why don't you in-mold these like you do a regular bike helmet? I'm looking around for a regular bike helmet, and the only one sitting really close to me is not a regular bike helmet, but it's kind of like a regular bike helmet. And they looked at me like, you're crazy. It's not possible. It's a tooling problem. So we just started messing around with it, and we were able to figure out how to, 2 years later, how to make this all at one. Okay, good for us. What does that mean? What it really meant was I could make a much thinner shell,
Mm-hmm.
and I can make the foam softer. Everything I do is about trying to make the foam softer, because I believe our helmets are way too hard. We're
Mm-hmm.
causing way more brain trauma than we should. And it's based on how we built the standards. But if you can make that shell thinner, now when you impact, it's going to dissipate. It's going to flex much faster. It's going to get to the thing that saves your head, that energy absorbing foam, faster. So that's what we want to do. We want to try and get that foam softer. The standards were built back in the early 70s, where they took cadavers. I do this like they held them by the ankles and dropped them. I don't think that's really how they did it, but it's
I think that's how they did it.
I think it's pretty cool when I think about it. Dead people, throw them on their heads.
Right.
And they
Where do you get some bodies at in the helmet industry, right?
Oh, you can still buy them today. I have never done, like, you can buy just the heads.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I thought we were joking.
No, it's a whole industry.
My God.
So when you check that box that says you can use any of my body parts, it can go anywhere. And
oh Lord.
I checked the box. I mean, you can use my hand. I'm done with it
too, man. I'm hoping I make it into a helmet factory.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, this guy's head is screwed up, man.
Yeah, no, they're still doing it. Anyway, so they dropped the full bodies, and they determined that it took 300 G's worth of force to break the skull.
Uh-huh.
All right. Nothing to do with brain
trauma. Is there like
trauma.
a certain height that they're doing that from? Or
usually it's about 2 meters.
Okay.
It's 6.2 meters per second, which comes out to be about 2 meters.
Okay.
And the what they determined was that's what it took to break your skull. We didn't know a lot about brain trauma at that time, so that became the standard. That is still the standard today. 300 G's. 300 G's is often death. But as a helmet maker, if I make this helmet and I send it to a lab, and they put now a magnesium head form in instead of a cut off cadaver head form with a linear accelerometer, they drop it, and as long as it's below 300 G's, you're okay.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can sell the helmet. So, but in reality, 300 G's is crazy. It takes about 74 G's to knock you out. How many times have you been riding with somebody where you know they got a concussion, but they weren't knocked out?
Yeah, they're pretty much every time.
Yeah, they're below 75 G's, yet that's all we're really trying to work on. Now we've also learned about rotational forces and the things that MIPS talks about, and we can get into that if that's a way that you guys want to talk about. So, there's so many dynamics that happen in these crashes. But again, I go back to where I was saying before. I believe all helmets are too hard, and we need to start dissipating energy earlier. 80% of all crashes are below 100 G's.
Right.
104 to be exact, according to a study from the Imperial College of London. So we're building these helmets to take the worst of the worst crash, which is important. We want to take that worst of the worst crash too. If you talk to the people at Snell, that's all they worry about. They don't want to talk about the low hits. They think that that's the only important thing. And I take a little bit, with all due respect to Snell, because they did wonderful things to change how we built helmets back in the 50s and 60s. But I want to solve all crashes. I want, from the little crashes that build up, the additive effect. I mean, American football, the studies that are going on there are amazing for what we're learning about, the shear forces that happen inside your brain when you have an oblique impact. it's not this anymore. It's like, wow, this thing rotates, and now you got these different layers of the brain, and they spin at different rates. They break the axions.
You know, I thought about that before. Like, why is the mountain bike helmet not like the inside of a football helmet? How it's all like big pieces. You know what I mean?
Multiple reasons. Big, bulky. I mean, you want to ride with the football helmet?
No, not at all. But I was just thinking they could put those pieces in there like that. Like, the kind of squares that they got in there.
Yeah, and we are trying to do more and more of that stuff. I mean, like we play around with not the big squares, like you can't even see it, but there's those little blue things in there. The idea, those, we call it a low density layer, so that you start dissipating energy really quickly. I think you're onto something. I mean, talk to a skateboarder, and they hate wearing helmets. Now they hate wearing helmets, period. But when they're in competition and they have to wear one, you say, hey, wear this bike helmet. And they're like, those things are too hard. They hurt my head.
Yeah.
The problem is the skate helmets, the old ProTech ones that took all the small hits. They didn't take the big hits.
Right.
So when you're talking about using the football ones, they take a lot of the little hits, but you need to take the big hits. And that's what that hard EPS foam takes, is the big hit. So
I see what you're saying.
You're trying to, so I think it's funny. I had this exact conversation with Peter Holder, the inventor of MIPS, when I was saying, we need to make helmets softer. And he's like, those are two different helmets. And I'm like, Peter, you invented MIPS. We're smarter than this. We can do this.
We can do it, right?
And I gotta admit, I've got a project on a bucket style helmet for BMX street stuff that I've been working on for 2 years, and I haven't got the full range yet.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it.
We've had this conversation before, because you had explained, the big hits to me on the helmets, and kind of what you have to do to get those certifications is meet those big hits. But what you had expressed to me is like, man, how many accidents or how many times you bang your head around during the year that are like these really low impact ones, but they're obviously like, that's trauma. Like the last time that I went down, I banged my helmet up pretty good. It needs to be replaced, but I didn't knock myself out. You know what I mean? I didn't crack the shell completely, but man, I rang the shit out of my bell. Like I was a little dazed for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And so that was obviously under 75 G's from what you just said earlier. Like those are the ones that are happening all the time. Those big, huge hits they're few and far between, man.
Right.
If you like that, make sure you check out the full episode. And hey, do me a favor, before you take off, hit the like and subscribe. Be sure to check out our show sponsors, Cali Protectives, and click on the link and show more to use the discount code and save 15%.